In the world of economics, there are two fundamental systems at play: the debt-based economy and the ownership-based economy. While both systems aim to manage growth, wealth, and stability, they do so in radically different ways. Today, we live in a debt-driven world where borrowing is used to fuel expansion. But is this system really the best approach for society? Or could a shift toward an ownership-based system offer a more sustainable, equitable path forward? Let's explore the differences between these two models and what they mean for our future. In a debt-based economy, growth is largely driven by borrowing. This system allows governments, corporations, and individuals to access money that isn't strictly tied to existing wealth. Through borrowing, money is essentially created when loans are issued, fueling expansion. This may seem like a great way to stimulate growth, but the system is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provides the capital needed for large-scale projects, corporate expansions, and government spending. On the other hand, this endless cycle of borrowing can lead to inflation, as the money supply grows without a corresponding increase in real value. This inflation erodes the purchasing power of savings, making it harder for average people to accumulate wealth. For corporations, debt is often used to fund expansions, like new drilling projects or manufacturing facilities. However, the benefits of such expansions rarely trickle down to the workers. Instead, profits are often directed to shareholders and executive bonuses, leaving the average worker with stagnant wages and rising living costs. Now let's contrast this with an ownership-based economy, which ties growth to real, tangible assets rather than borrowing. In this system, money is derived from existing capital, such as land, property, or investments. This approach places limits on borrowing and encourages a more responsible approach to spending. Without the ability to simply create money through loans, governments, corporations, and individuals must rely on the assets they already have, leading to more sustainable, slower growth. This system keeps inflation in check, since the money supply remains stable and tied to real value. Governments must prioritize spending carefully, because the ability to borrow is limited, ensuring that budgets are evaluated more rigorously. The result is a more transparent, fiscally responsible system, where long-term planning and investment are prioritized. For corporations, an ownership-based system promotes growth that's driven by real assets and equity, rather than debt. In this model, companies would fund projects through retained profits or equity investments, rather than taking on loans. This reduces the pressure to deliver short-term profits, encouraging businesses to focus on sustainable growth rather than speculative expansions. The overall outcome is a more stable economy, where companies prioritize long-term resilience over rapid expansion. The differences between these two models don't just impact governments and corporations, they affect the wealth and well-being of individuals as well. In a debt-based economy, wealth is often concentrated in the hands of those who already hold assets. When the value of assets rises due to inflation or increased borrowing, wealthy investors see their fortunes grow. Meanwhile, the average worker faces stagnant wages and rising costs, widening the wealth gap. In contrast, an ownership-based economy, with its emphasis on real, tangible assets, promotes a more equitable distribution of wealth. By tying growth to assets and limiting borrowing, the focus shifts toward building value over time, benefiting everyone in society, not just the wealthy few. While the ownership-based system offers stability and equity, it does come with challenges. First, because borrowing is more limited, economic growth is slower and more gradual. In today's world, rapid growth is often prioritized, but shifting to an ownership-based model would require patience and long-term vision. Second, the limited borrowing in such a system means increased accountability, which could restrict government programs or corporate expansions. However, supporters of an ownership-based economy argue that limiting unnecessary spending and focusing only on essential services would create a more balanced and sustainable economy. When we look at the choice between these two economic models, it becomes clear that the debt-based system may offer rapid growth in the short term, but it brings with it inflation, wealth concentration, and financial instability. The ownership-based model, on the other hand, promotes fiscal responsibility, long-term growth, and greater economic equity. While slower, it offers a more sustainable, stable foundation for society. A balanced approach could involve combining elements of both systems, Governments and corporations could encourage sustainable investments while limiting speculative debt, allowing for both growth and responsibility. In the end, the most successful economic model will be one that balances real, lasting value with the flexibility to adapt to necessary changes. A system that prioritizes stability, fairness, and long-term sustainability is one that benefits everyone, not just a select few. As we continue to shape the future of our economies, we must consider what's truly important: sustainable growth, equitable wealth distribution, and economic stability. It's clear that debt-driven growth can't continue unchecked, but a well-balanced system that emphasizes ownership and responsible growth could offer a more sustainable path forward. What do you think? Could an ownership-based economy be the key to creating a more stable, fair, and prosperous future? Let us know your thoughts, and share this video to keep the conversation going.